And welcome back, everybody, to the Podcaster Nation. That's right, I said welcome back because I know you were just listening to our stuff and you came back for more. It was a very good decision, folks. You're very smart. You're incredibly smart. You're brilliant, actually, because we have more for you. I have a fantastic guest with me today. Cannot wait to introduce this person. This is the place, folks, that is about podcasters. It's for podcasters and it's done by podcasters. This is the place where we all, as podcasters, come together to lift one another up. And as I always say, this is the place where the rising tide raises all ships. So let's get sailing and bring in our guest today, writer, voice actor, audiobook narrator, actor, podcaster. I think I got them all. Kris Keppeler. Kris, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing good. I
Love it.
got a little sunshine here in Seattle, so we don't always get that. It's supposed to rain later today and tomorrow, so
Yeah.
enjoying it while I can.
I was going to say rain in Seattle. I've heard about that for sure, but
Yeah,
sunshine, that's kind of an oddity. Good for you. Uh,
yeah,
well, anybody watching on the video can see that you're very lit up with the sunshine. You look like you're enjoying it. I
yes,
love it. That's
I
beautiful.
am. Yes.
So, Kris, I tell you what, as we get rolling here, I know we got several things to talk about, but tell everybody, who is Kris Keppeler? What are you about? What do you do? And what brings you here today?
I am a storyteller. I love telling stories of all types, although I most enjoy telling funny stuff because that's the theme of my main podcast. Does this happen to you? And but I enjoy telling stories about women also too. Right now, I'm working on an audiobook about famous women in history,
Hmm.
some of whom I'd never heard of. So it's really interesting.
Wow.
Because
All
one
right.
thing I love about narrating is I learn lots of interesting stuff too.
Wow. How long have you been doing the narrating voiceover thing?
Oh, for good, what, 16 years now, probably. I've been an actor for almost 30 years.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
been doing voiceover for about half that now.
Congratulations. I mean, that's
Yeah.
quite the career you're putting together for yourself there.
Yeah. I really enjoy it. I
I
really
love it.
do.
I love it. I mean, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you what made you start acting, in the first place.
I started out as a singer and I sang in choir. I started out in choir in junior high, and then I sang all the way up until into junior college. And then I got bored with it. And then I quit. I enjoyed singing. Wasn't particularly encouraged in it, but I enjoyed singing. And so I got bored, quit for a while. And then it's like, I really like to go back. I think in my 30s, you said, I really would like to start singing again, but I really don't want to do choir. And then a blind date took me to a Gilbert and Sullivan production. And on the back of their program, it said, "We're looking for chorus members." And I thought, oh, well, this is kind of a fun production, and I'll try that. And so I had no resume. I, I barely had a song ready. But they took me, and in the next production, I was a fairy. And I got to wear wings, and I got to carry a wand, and then I got to dance on stage. It's like, this is so much more fun than standing in a black dress on a riser.
Wow. And this is
So,
like professional stuff you're talking about here. I mean, Gilbert and Sullivan, my goodness.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And their Gilbert and Sullivan stuff is just so funny and fun to do as an actor.
Yeah.
But then it was, of course, well, I would sort of like to be at the front of the stage. To get to the front of the stage, I needed to take acting lessons. And so it was like, oh, well, this is kind of fun. I kind of enjoy this. And it it just expanded from there. So I got out of musical theater. I got into film. Really enjoyed that. Although I like to do live work, I like theater. It's just a black hole for time, and so
Hmm.
it's film is less less of a time sink for you. So, and it's still fun. So,
Interesting. A film. Okay. I mean, would I have
yeah,
seen you in anything at this point? What types
I
of
have
film
been.
work did you do?
I have an IMDB page with over 20 credits.
Oh my goodness gracious.
So, yeah, not anything particularly well known. Um, I was in a horror film, Seven Witches,
Okay.
and it doesn't have a great rating on Rotten Tomatoes, but in 2017, an Italian horror website named it as one of the top 10 horror films. So it was a little more
Wow.
popular overseas in other countries than here in the US. So, but it
Okay.
was really fun to make. The production team was out of LA, so there was a budget. I had a costume that was specifically made for me. Uh, it took me 10 minutes to get into it, but because it was Victorian. And
Ah,
so it
okay.
was like, yeah, uh, not a lot of makeup, but the costume took a while to get into. Oh, and my hair took a long time to do too. So,
Okay.
because it had to be just so.
Nice.
So that,
What types of roles have you played? In your acting career.
generally the mom, the grandmother. I kind of have that nurturing, caring voice and that look. I have certainly in some voice. Oh, I've actually played the villain once or twice. Yeah,
Really?
because I can get dark. I can get dark.
Okay, you're scaring me a little bit because I'm not quite getting that from you. I mean,
Hey,
the glowing, loving grandmother I was getting, the mom I was absolutely picking up, but
that's
he
yeah.
was a
One of the
bad guy?
scenes. Yeah.
Really? What kind of bad guys have you played?
Well, actually, I was one of the witches in Seven Witches,
Oh, all
and
right. So,
that's something the cinematographer told me in one of the scenes we were filming. He's like, I was scared.
so you got real dark.
Yeah, and I had a knife. So,
And I had a knife. Oh my gosh, I love it. Absolutely love it. All right, so those are the types of roles that you played in acting. I
yeah.
mean, that's amazing. Congratulations. That's just absolutely. Are you still acting at all?
Oh, yep.
Are you?
Still acting. I just did a horror film audition on Wednesday. Yeah.
You just like the horror films, or is that just where you keep getting drawn?
It's what came up. I was a good fit. They looking for someone older who looked German. My last name's Kepler. Hey, what can I did? I think, yeah, I have a 23 in me profile, and it's like 90% from Germany and Switzerland.
Okay.
That's where my genes all come from. So.
Is is that how is that how they look for, actors and actresses in out in the world today? They basically say, I want an Italian or I want a German and I want someone this age and this sex.
Oh, yeah.
That's how it works? No
Yeah,
kidding.
that's pretty specific.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now,
Yeah.
did you have to actually be German or could you just have looked
No,
German and gotten away with it?
no, they just wanted a German look, is what they
Hmm.
wanted. So, yeah.
All right.
And
Interesting.
I studied opera for 6 weeks in Graz, Austria.
Oh my
And
goodness.
one of the first things I had to learn how to say is, I'm sorry, I don't know in German. Ich weiß nicht. Ich weiß nicht.
Oh my goodness. In Austria.
In Austria.
How do you, I mean, okay, wait a second. So how do you end up I mean, one minute you're on Gilbert and Sullivan, the next minute you're in a horror movie, and then the very next minute you're in Austria doing opera. How do you get all out there doing that?
Well, at the it was through the singing more than the acting. But I was, I got into opera, and I was looking for ways to expand my opera experience. And I found this program. It sounded really fun, go to Austria and, learn more about singing opera. And, and they have the churches there are amazing to sing in. You did have a chance to sing in some of the churches, which was just stupendous.
Wow.
Um, and so it was just, yeah, it was one of the best things I ever did, just as an experience. It was a really wonderful experience. And I didn't learn German very well, which is unfortunate. I wish I learned German, except, yeah. Ich weiß nicht.
Yeah. All righty. Oh my gosh. I mean, that's I couldn't have asked for a more eclectic view of, what you've been doing for your life here. Holy cow. So you've done all sorts of different things.
Yeah,
Acting,
I have.
that's beautiful, and congratulations again. How do you go from that and say, you know what, now I'm gonna move into voice acting? What prompts you in that direction?
What prompted me? Well, someone had said, "Gee, if you since you're a singer, you should take a look at voice acting because there's more opportunity there. Because there's not a lot of film and even commercial stuff here in Seattle. So, but there's more opportunity in voiceover, and I took some lessons, and because even as with an acting background and a singing background, I still needed to learn how to do voiceover. It's not easy, and I just loved it because it combined my singing and my acting skills, and I still use both when I step in front of the mic. So, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so what type? I know that you've done some audiobooks, like over 50 is
Yes,
what
over
okay.
50. Yes.
Over 50 audiobooks. So congratulations on that all
Yes.
by itself. What an accomplishment. But also, what other sorts of voiceover have you done besides audiobooks?
I prefer narration. Commercial stuff is really not my thing. Um, so e-learning, corporate work, video voiceovers of all types, YouTube, sales letters. Um, I also do a lot because of my acting background, especially for video voiceovers. I do a lot of character work,
Hmm. Okay.
um, and
Well,
especially for kids. Um, like I was Ernie the Earthworm for a couple videos.
you knew I was about to ask you what characters have you done because I mean there was something in your bio about person impersonations too. So
Yeah,
what types of I mean give us an example. What types of voices you got? Ernie the Earthworm. Do you have
Ernie the
other signature
Earthworm.
voices there?
Uh, oh, bees, bees, busy bees. Um, the hardest one I ever had to come up with was for a children's book, and she wanted very specific voices for the animals that were featured, and one was an aardvark. It's like, what is an aardvark? So like,
We got to hear
oh,
this
wait
one.
a minute.
Yeah.
They have a long tongue, don't they? So this is what the aardvark sounded like.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's interesting. All right. I mean, it's anatomically correct, I'm sure, the way you did it. Oh my gosh, that's great. So they gave you creative licenses to come up with your own voice for a lot of these characters.
Yeah, that's generally if they're looking for characters, that's what they're looking for is your creativity to bring that character to
Wow.
life. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
Well, that's just fascinating. All right. Yeah, any other ones? Because I mean, hey, you're giving me gold here. This is already a great episode. So,
Oh, oh boy. I, wow. Well, snakes are easy to do, you know.
mhm.
Um, oh, I once did um, a harpy for a video game,
Okay.
and it was just sounds. She didn't even have dialogue, but I had to make specific sounds like
Oh, wow. Oh, that's great. Oh my gosh, that's great. Okay. Cool. For a video game.
yeah, that
Oh
was for
my
video game.
gosh. All right. Are you allowed to tell us which video game it was or?
Oh gosh, I don't know whether he ever finished it. That's the thing.
Ah.
Sometimes I don't always know if they ever. I do have one a video game credit out there on IMDB. It's
Mhm.
for a game called Agony. Doesn't have the best rating. It's
Sounds painful.
it was really scary to do it because it's basically a trip through hell.
Oh, okay, ow.
It's really scary. And I was playing, people trapped in hell.
Oh my goodness. So what does that job description look like? Wanted voices for people trapped in hell. I mean, how
Yeah.
do you?
Oh, martyr.
Hmm.
I'm down as martyr.
Oh my gosh, that's really cool though. Okay. All right. So we've done that. We got audiobooks, right?
Yes.
What is there a particular type of audiobook that you prefer, that you specialize in, or have you done all kinds like your acting?
Actually, it's funny. Even though I'm an actor, I prefer nonfiction
Okay.
because I learn along with, and my voice fits certain genres, spirituality, health and fitness. I've done self development or self improvement slash biography, and of course kids and comedy.
Hmm.
So those are my specialties. Oh, I do have a few fiction audiobooks out there. One is horror, actually. Yeah, because horror can be a. What is it with me in horror? I don't
I
know. I
was
don't
about to
like
ask that
horror
question.
movies, but
I mean, like again, you seem to be drawn to that genre. So I mean, if it works, it works. But
something about my voice. It's like kidoki.
right. I mean, we take the work where we can get it. I understand. That's what you got to
Yes.
do, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, but okay, excellent. So you did some horror audiobooks.
Yep.
Awesome. Now, is that just voicing, or are you doing all the harpy sounds and stuff like that for the audiobook too?
For the audiobook, it was all the characters and yeah. So I have done
Ah,
multi-character audiobooks where I do all the characters. Those are really a challenge, I have to say. So really a
that
challenge.
that's what I was thinking when you were asking me that. So when you're doing a fictional book and you
Yes.
have different characters, are you doing a different voice for each character?
Yeah. Or you're
Holy
certainly
cow.
doing um you don't you don't want it to be a caricature. So you're doing that emotion that the character is feeling. Or sometimes I've done books where a character speaks in a very certain manner and you have to speak each time in that certain manner, like, oh, they speak in little sprints of sentences and little sprints of
Hmm.
words, not yeah.
It's just now occurring to me. I've listened to a lot of audiobooks, but almost every audiobook I listen to is nonfiction. So
uh
I've never heard how they do voices for fiction. And it
yeah.
never even occurred to me until just now when I'm talking to you and I'm going, "Oh, I guess that would be a little different." So
Yes,
interesting.
it is.
Wow.
I find it very challenging. A lot of actors really like it. I prefer nonfiction, but I can run into voices, having to do different voices even in nonfiction books, especially if you're doing maybe an autobiography or something like that.
Hmm.
You might run into different voices. I started on a book for a friend who's an author, and I was putting it out in little podcast episodes to try to get more people to buy her book. And then I do plan to turn it into an entire audiobook for her and we'll publish it. Um, and it's an autobiography.
Hmm.
And lo and behold, there are a lot of different voices I had to come up with
Really, in an autobiography.
in an autobiography. Yeah. So you just don't, nonfiction, depending on the type of nonfiction, you can run into having to do different voices. And even with the current women's history book that I'm working on nonfiction, yeah, they have, people talking, and you have to come up with a reasonable voice for that character. So
Wow. I'm curious, as you're doing audiobooks especially, but as you do your voice work, your narration work, are you also editing it and splicing it and everything else into the final file, or are you just, oh,
yep.
you are?
Yeah, I taught myself how to produce and yeah.
Goodness gracious. So that's a ton of work for what you make, basically doing the
It's
job.
a ton of work. Yes, it is.
Hmm.
Audiobooks are a ton of work. So
My
yeah.
goodness. Okay. Goodness. Wow. Okay. So we've talked about that. We've done that. Now I know that you have a current podcast, and that
Yes.
it's called "Does This Happen to You?" But you
Yes.
also used to have a podcast
Yeah, I
that
I
you've
started,
changed over. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. I'm interested in women in leadership, women's rights issues.
Okay.
And so I had started another podcast um, during the pandemic, actually, called Through a Different Lens,
Okay.
about women. It was specifically women in leadership and leadership. Um, and I only did it, I think I had maybe less than 24 episodes, and I just couldn't do everything. Um, and I was actually, as far as my business goes, I got quite busy during the pandemic.
Well, I mean that's not bad.
No, it wasn't bad at all. It's like, um, so I now started a Substack publication called The Wisdom of Women, and I'm reissuing that podcast with some changes to it um, on my Substack,
Okay.
and with the plan that I'll eventually start interviewing women leaders. So yeah,
I see. Okay.
as an interview, its format right now is narrative because that's what I really like to do is narrate.
Right.
But I plan to change it into the interview style. So
Wow. Okay. The other podcast you have going is Does This Happen to You? Tell us about that
yes,
podcast. What's that about? How do you do that one?
that's my original podcast that I started. The idea that I would narrate some of my comedy stuff that I'd written, and then it turned out there was no way to write enough comedy stuff for a weekly podcast. Oops. And then I was looking around. I had some people that I'd found on WordPress blogs, and it's like, oh, these are really wonderful stories. People should hear them. And so I started narrating those with their permission. And then when Medium came along, medium.com, which is a huge blog article
Right.
publication
Yeah.
platform, I started following writers there, and it's like, oh, well, there's all these wonderful, funny stories. Can I narrate your story for my podcast? Oh yeah, you know, I have a probably 80% approval. Yeah, go ahead, do that. Love to hear my story,
Sure.
and so I just it's just all these wonderful stories I get to narrate, collaborating with the writers on them. It's just I really enjoy it. And it's and then a couple of years ago, someone I think I'd start a YouTube channel, and then it's like, oh, they've added podcasts. I'm like, what? Wait, oh, okay. So I started formally adding, this is my podcast
Hmm.
to YouTube, and it has proven to be more popular on YouTube. It never really gained much of an audience in the regular podcast
Hmm.
platforms, even though it has good ratings on Apple Podcasts, and I also like the YouTube because I do get to interact with people, which you really can't do on the
Right.
most of the regular podcasts, but it's really easy to do that on the YouTube.
Sure it is. Yeah.
So, so yeah, that's and it's funny stories about life and befuddlement. It's from mostly female writers, but I do work with some really great male writers. At
Hmm.
They all, it's all humor, and it's all humor about modern life, the absurdities of modern life.
There are a few. So
Yes.
yeah, I'm sure you don't run out of yeah, material for that one.
Yeah. No.
Okay. I had a chance. I listened to that one. I had a chance to listen to that before. Coming on here with you,
Yeah.
the I mean, you give the original writer all the credit in the world
Yep.
for the fact that they wrote it,
Yes.
and the whole nine yards. So
Yes.
I'm puzzled as to why anybody would not want you to, narrate that and put their work out there for more people to see and hear. But you actually have people say, no, don't do that.
Yeah, okay. It's not that often, but occasionally they're either really protective of their writing or maybe they're going to publish it somewhere else.
Hmm.
And so they're afraid that being it out there, someone listening to it, I guess, will detract from getting it published elsewhere. Sometimes there's, these copyright issues. So I'm just, it's like, okay, that's fine. Go on to the next because I've got lots of people that say, yeah, that's
I
great.
would imagine.
So,
Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, if you were calling to read something of mine, I'd be like, great, here you go. What do you need from me? So that's interesting. All right, good deal. And so you just how do you come up with that the material for that podcast? I mean, you just happen across it? Do you have certain places you like to go look? Where do you go to farm and find your material for your shows?
for the last few years, it's been medium.com
Right.
where I've met lots of wonderful writers. And so I like to read too, of course.
Hmm.
So I'm always, I spend a lot of time on Medium as because I also write on medium.com.
Okay.
So I have stories out there. So people are familiar with, my writing and what I do. But I have since, now that I'm on Substack, now I have found some Substack
Ah,
places.
okay.
I found a writer who writes wacky crime stories.
All right.
Who is thrilled? He was thrilled. It's like, can I narrate that? It's like, yes.
That's the reaction I would expect to hear
Yeah.
from somebody. All right, exactly. I mean, we're all out there like posting on social media and struggling like crazy to get all of
Yeah.
our,
Yes.
content out, and someone comes
Yeah.
along and says, "Let me put some out for you." And
Yeah.
I'll even read it for you. And you're
Yeah.
like, "No? Why would you?" It, that's a kind of boggles the
Yeah.
imagination. Okay, but I know you mentioned, the medium, but
Yeah.
so you're just sifting through medium, like just searching, finding stuff.
Yep.
I mean, you're
Yep.
doing this the grassroots, old-fashioned way of combing through it, looking for stuff that catches your eye or catches your heart.
Yeah.
Holy
Yes.
cow.
And I'm enjoying reading all this. I enjoy reading. So
Okay.
while I'm doing it, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying reading. So
Nice. Nice. I mean, over here I'm going, wow, that's a lot of work. And then I'm like, well, if you enjoy it, then it's really not work. But, that works out. All right, I got you. I love that. So does this happen to you? That's a for fun type of podcast? Is there anything you're doing with that? Is there a purpose for that other than just entertainment?
it was originally just for fun. It's grown enough on YouTube where I would really like to monetize this because I'd really like to start to pay the writers for their work.
Right.
Um, but it's proving to be difficult right now. I have two out of the three to monetize, and I can't quite get the view hours that I need. So,
Hmm. Okay. Are you looking at like alternative forms of monetization, or are you just sort of like going with downloads and like ad buys and things like that?
well, it turns out ad buys don't work because YouTube does not count views gotten via ads. So you have no choice but to figure out somehow to grow it organically. So I've spent some money to work with experts who I'm not sure are experts, but to help me grow it organically.
Got it.
And it's very even for YouTube, it's a niche. I occupy a really strange niche, narrated stories.
For sure.
um,
Yeah.
in sort of an audiobook style. So but no, some of the things do seem to be working. I was just not doing some stuff that I should have been doing. Like, oh, I saw the end card things, but I didn't really understand what they were about. And then it's somebody's, you need to put end cards on. Oh, okay. Now let me figure this out.
Right.
Oh, oh, it wasn't that hard once I figured it.
Right. There you go. That's all right though. That's one thing. That's good.
End cards.
That's
I
excellent.
was struggling with. I'd started to do shorts about a year ago,
Mhm.
and it was just me standing in front of my, smartphone talking about stuff, audiobooks or weird stories that happened to me, or anyway, it's like, and that was difficult, and so the expert, and this has been working. The expert said, take, and especially since now YouTube allows you to do 3-minute shorts, he said, take a little portion of some of your stories and make it into a short.
Right. Yeah.
That is working. And then I link it back to a regular video because I can do that.
Right. Yep.
And that's been working. And I
Okay.
started with cat stuff because cat videos, what do people like? Cat stuff.
You got to start someplace. You know what I mean? It's like cats and kids, right? And why not? It's
Yeah, yeah. And I've got
so.
lots of stories that feature animals because pets and modern life sort of,
Oh yeah.
go together, and there's lots of funny stuff out there. So,
Yeah, they do. I love that you said. So I work with an expert who I'm not really sure was an expert. That's just sort of how everybody feels, I think. So,
yeah,
but
yeah.
now are you still working with this expert, or was this a one-off thing? You worked with him and you're done working with him.
He's still helping me out in some
Okay.
ways. Yes.
All right.
He has been the one expert that seemed to actually have some expertise.
There you go. I was just gonna say. So it sounds like you found one that at least has something
Yeah,
to offer.
that
Good.
that
Good.
has
Good. Good.
yeah, yeah.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that for you. That's really cool. Yeah, my whole thing that I tell everybody is, I mean, there are experts everywhere. I'm probably one of them. But there's experts everywhere. But if somebody doesn't have a monetized podcast or YouTube channel, then they probably can't tell you how to get one.
I, yeah,
So it's like start there and go
yeah.
forward. But it sounds like, yeah, you already gained some knowledge from this. So congratulations. That's cool. It sounds like
Oh, thanks.
you
Thanks.
hit gold a little bit there, which is great. Now, let me ask you this. How do you go about promoting all of this different work that you do?
Mostly social media. I'm
Okay.
on a lot of social media sites. Um, yeah, mostly social media. And then if I, at a networking thing, I always, bring up my podcast, and because it's part of what I do. So
Okay.
bring up my podcast, and yeah.
In the social media world, is there a particular platform or platforms that you have found that work better for you as opposed to the other ones?
Um, LinkedIn.
Hmm.
I like LinkedIn. And I'm just starting on Blue Sky. Um, Instagram. Because a lot of my stuff is got a visual element to it.
Hmm.
So, and I've been getting more views on Instagram. So,
Excellent. Okay, cool.
yeah, that's I've been we'll see, I've been on YouTube. I've been no, on Facebook. I've actually put the whole video out there now, the
Hmm.
short that I've been making, to
Right.
see if that helps at all. Jury's out on that one. So
Are you following a particular social media strategy or anything, or are you just sort of firing off as many arrows as you can to see if any of them hit the target?
um I have been working with I'm not particularly good at is promo stuff, like choosing the best titles to capture people's interest,
Uh,
choosing the best keyword. So
sure.
I've started using AI to see if it can do any better. So
I'll-
we'll see.
I love the face you just made when you said AI. You're like, I'm using AI. How,
Well,
how long have you been
sometimes,
doing AI?
yeah, sometimes it's good. I found it's really good for research. I use it a lot for research for articles and stuff.
Uh,
Whether it's going to be good for the keywords and stuff like that, uh, it it's looking like maybe we'll see. You know, yeah. But some other stuff, it's like, what, what? You just this is what I wrote. You wanted me to change it to this. This is not even what I meant.
there you go. That's the AI that I love right there.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
So,
That's wonderful. Okay. Well, I mean, in terms of like why you went to podcasting, that seems very, very self-explanatory. Seems like it was a pretty natural progression from what you were doing,
it
huh?
was a very natural progression. Yeah,
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 wonderful.
yeah.
Now, are you still and you're still doing all this? You're still acting, you're still voice acting, you're still doing all of this all at once, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is this what you
Uh,
do for a living, or is this a side hustle for you?
well, I'm supposed to be retired, but I don't want to retire. So it's sort of, and yeah, do I want to get more income from it? And yeah, it's my business.
Sure.
Yeah, I consider it my business, and I that's what I enjoy doing. So I certainly don't want to sit around and not do. Yeah, I just yeah.
Yeah, I haven't known you that long, but I can't picture you just saying, I'm retired, I'm going to sit here. I mean,
No.
the gal who went to Austria just because to like, study some opera. I mean, it's not like you went down the street. You didn't drive to Portland. You went to Austria. You know, I mean, yeah, you seem like you've got a little bit of little wanderlust, a little adventurer in you.
Oh yeah, yeah. I haven't gone as far afield in recent years. I sort of miss that. But yeah, I still uh, get around. Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
mostly
congratulations.
online nowadays, but
Well, it's easier that way.
it is.
For
It
sure, it's easier that
is.
way.
Um,
All right, let me hit you with my corny question now because you have so many
okay.
topics that you can apply it to. In particular, your podcasting that you do. What is it about doing your podcast that you love the most, and what is it about doing your podcast that you just really dislike, would love to throw out the window and never see again, just can't stand the most?
I love um, the just doing the funny stuff, getting to read funny stuff and interact with the writers of funny stuff and getting the funny stuff out there. That's the best thing I, about that I love about my podcast. The best thing about my podcast. The worst thing is the editing. That's no
There you go.
ah, editing. Yeah.
I don't blame you. If we had doing this Family Feud style top five answers on the board, editing is almost always number one answer. Ding ding ding. Nobody likes it. So yeah, I totally
Uh,
understand.
no.
You are not alone. Social media posting's a close second, but editing,
Editing. Yeah.
number one answer in every
Yeah.
poll. I got you. I got you. Chris, I love this. Now you told me you had a course of some kind. Do you want to tell us what that's
Yeah.
about and what you
Yeah.
offer and what you do there?
I have it's a little less than 30 minutes. It's on Gumroad. It's called The Truth About Audiobook Narration and Production. And it gives authors, publishers, and people who are interested in narrating audiobooks the down low on everything you need to know if you want to narrate your own audiobook or get into audiobook narration. So, um,
Nice. Okay,
yeah.
wonderful. So it's for beginners who don't have any experience in this
Yes.
type of thing?
It's for beginners
Okay,
and for authors who are interested in narrating their own audiobook.
I
Yeah.
see. Okay, your own. That's excellent. All right. Good deal. Is there a difference in how you do it if it's your book versus you want to get into, narration or anything like that for other people's books, that type of thing?
It's pretty similar.
Similar?
So
Okay.
pretty similar, yeah.
Excellent. Beautiful. Okay. And now is that a separate link from, what's in your bio, or is that just all part of a website? What's the best way for people to get to all these spots?
Oh, um, you can find it. I think it should be on my website.
Okay.
Or you can find it on Gumroad.
On Gumroad. Okay.
And you can
Awesome.
find it on my social media. So yeah,
All right.
the
I will
link.
get I'll get any and all those links out of your bio. Make sure that we have those in the show notes, of course. And I'll double check those. And then yeah, if I need any more or something more specific, I'll get it from
Yeah.
you. But folks that are listening, if you want any information on any of this stuff, it will be in the show notes. So look down below. It's gonna be right there for you. All right, no problem. We'll make sure it's there. Kris, I love this. You've got an amazing story. I'd love to sit here and just pick your brain about, traveling around doing the stuff you've done because something tells me you've got some stories.
Oh
That
yeah,
if-
yeah. Because I spent then a few years after Austria, I went to Italy and also studied some more opera.
oh my gosh. All right. Austria and then Italy.
And then Italy,
Which one you
yes.
like better?
Italy was really fun.
Good
Uh,
answer.
the
There you
food was like mind blowing.
go. That's what I hear all the time. I'm Italian, so I have a little dog in the hunt right there.
Oh
But
yeah,
I
yeah.
love that. I love it. That's fantastic. All right, the only person I've ever heard of that liked Austria better than Italy was Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I think he's a little biased, But other than that, the actor, it was just a joke, terrible joke, apparently. But and then it was so bad we cut out. All right, there we go. All right, and we're back.
Yeah,
When you
we're back.
when you tell a joke that's so bad that the internet feed cuts on you, you just need to stop telling jokes. That's all there is to it. That's just brutal. Okay, Kris, as we kind of pull things together here, let me as we wrap up, let me ask you this, and you've been absolutely wonderful today. I appreciate you so much for coming on, sharing these tales about what you've done. In terms of podcasting, what's your best piece of advice for a podcaster who's out there and is just not quite where you are yet?
I've always told podcasters, people who've asked, that I think the most important thing about your podcast is your mission. What what's your what do you feel you want to put out there to people, and be very focused on that. Um, yeah.
Nice, beautiful. All right, great advice. Be focused on your mission. Perfect. Kris, thank you very much for coming on, talking about your podcast, letting us know. We'll make sure everything's in the show notes. And
Great. Thank
for
you.
everybody else, writer, voice actor, audiobook narrator, actor, podcaster, storyteller, audiobook professional, um, world traveler, Italian food critic. Um, Kris Keppeler, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Kris, you were wonderful.
Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
I'm glad. I'm glad. Folks, that was another fantastic episode of The Podcaster Nation. This is the podcast that is about podcasters, it's for podcasters, and it's done by podcasters. Folks, this is the place where the rising tide truly raises all ships. So keep sailing.